Coming next, we'll be creating the customer portal and embedding it directly into our SaaS. So as you can see on the screenshot over here, this is how the customer portal will look like. It will have interfaces from where your customers can manage their subscription, like if they want to update their plan, cancel the subscription, or update payment methods. They can also manage their billing information, update those, and see past payments and download invoices. All of this will be provided by the Freemius Starter Kit, which we'll see shortly. And it will also require us to implement one backend endpoint like we did with the checkout. So let's get started. Now we will be following the same documentation we have been throughout the tutorial. So the documentation is asking us to create one API endpoint at this route here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Under app API, I will create a new file, call it portal/route.ts. And I can just copy paste the code from the documentation into this file. Now see that this code is using the getFSUser function we wrote earlier. So just as a recap, the getFSUser function is something that maps the currently logged in user from our SaaS to the user that's available on Freemius. And with this, essentially the integration is complete. We have some other properties here as well. You can read about them in our documentation. Now let's go ahead and implement the front end. So for the front end, we'll be creating a new page. Let's call it billing. So under app, I'm going to go ahead and create billing/page.tsx. And I can copy the code from our documentation again. So this page has a very basic functionality. So at first, it's checking if the user is logged in. If not, then it is redirecting to the login page. Then we want to create a checkout session like we did when embedding the paywall. So the checkout is needed because the customer portal has several checkout functionalities like updating the plans, changing the payment method, etc. Now let us start by rendering the app checkout provider, which is the way to create and pass the checkout from the backend to the front end. And inside the app checkout provider, we render the customer portal component. The customer portal component is again something that we get for free from the Freemius Starter Kit. The only prop it requires is the URL of the endpoint we just created. So the URL is /API/portal, and that's exactly what we are passing here. With this, our implementation is complete. We do want to, however, wrap the UI in the basic shell of our application. So let's do this. And we are done. If I now navigate manually to the billing, I can see that the customer portal UI showing up. So what it did, again going to the network tab, it sent an asynchronous request to the API endpoint that we just created, /API/portal. This responded with the data that is required to render this page, and this happened automatically through the Freemius JavaScript SDK. And this is showing me that I am now on the starter plan when my subscription is going to renew. It also has the UI to update my billing information. For example, I can do this. Let's say my business name is Fu Inc. I can save it. And this is also showing me all of the past payments that I did. So starting from this tutorial, what I did was I paid $4.99 to start the subscription, which is showing up here. Then I made one additional purchase of 1000 credits by paying $8. I can also go ahead and click on the invoice links, and this will show us the invoice coming straight from the Freemius API. So this is the invoice that is rendered from the Freemius API onto our local application using the Freemius JavaScript SDK. There are other functionalities in the portal. For example, if I want to update the payment method, I can click this button. It will show up the Freemius checkout in the context of updating payment methods. Or I can also go and update plans by clicking this button here. Right now I'm on the starter plan. If I want, I can go to the professional plan, and the checkout will also give me prorated discount because I have already paid $4.99 for the starter. Now, before we conclude, we do want to add a link here on the sidebar. So let's open the app sidebar. And in here, let's add another menu item. Let's call it billing and payments. Great. This is the URL/billing. And just for the aesthetics, we can also render this receipt icon. Now this is easy to navigate to the billing page from your application. So this concludes how to embed the Freemius customer portal directly onto your SaaS. In the next video, we will see how we can render some other payment user interfaces directly into the credits page.